economy. I get spanked all game long. But because I do such a good job of upgrading and so fast, you're going to see some pretty glorious, godly units.
So we do have the Banshee still in your main. It did take out 3 probes over at your expansion, now taking out another one. But it has completely gotten out of your base there. I like the fact that he decloaked that. Most Terran users will just let it sit there and wear down the rest of the energy. But Phoenix did hit that decloak button. Now, going back over and... Whoops, there we go. I need to turn that off. Anyways, so going back over into the main, Phoenix, he has added on another factory, or a third factory, and he's going to be going for a little bit of a blue flame drop here. You have no idea that this is coming, obviously. You're still kind of in the dark somewhat, as you have not scouted in quite some time. Your first observer did fall. In your position right now, what are you really thinking to yourself?
Well, it's tough. He's doing a great job. With those Banshees out on the map, he's able to close down my scouting, like with the towers or any probe outside of his base. And with the Raven, he's able to snipe the observer. So the map is incredibly dark for me. You can see I'm still sending probes, so I still want that information. But it's really hard to achieve. And he's a very harass-oriented player, so going into this, I kind of was prepared to be reactive to that. And as we can see, he still gets that drop-off and actually picks them up before they ever even die. So it's like a free, I would like you to have 6 less probes, please. And I was like, well, I would rather not. And he's like, I'm sorry. I did it anyways, and then he leaves to go repair them. So for like 18 minerals, he basically just killed 6 probes. Pretty cool, and very good at the Terran, and that's something that I think a lot of Terrans need to do more of. Like, if you look, he doesn't really have a stand-up army. This is not like a big timing build, but to do harass while doing that stuff really increases the efficiency and proficiency of this build.
Now, going back over into your base, it looks like I saw you upgrading charge. I'm trying to find your... There we go. In terms of getting charge in this matchup, is that pretty much to close the gap for your Zealots and getting on to the Marines and Marauders before getting slowed?
Oh yeah, charge is an absolutely essential upgrade in this matchup if you're making Zealots, obviously. And anyone that upgrades his charge and then doesn't make them is just being silly. But Zealots are great against Marauders. They're fine against Marines, and they're actually really good against mech builds as well, because they drag in that friendly fire to his units, but also they get within range of attacking tanks that then can't shoot them. So as long as you control them fairly well and don't let them evaporate to huge burst fires of tanks, it's a really powerful thing to do.
I see a lot of Protoss players kind of on the fence, or at least they have strong ideas as whether you should be getting Psystorm or getting Colossus. What are your thoughts on that?
It's stylistic, to be honest. Like, I think both have application and are fantastic. I think the Colossus is safer because most of the time you're going to open up Robo to get that Observer out and be safe against Cloak Banshee, but also to scout out your opponent. But if you can later transition into... and you can see another Hellion drop going down, so he's like, more probes, die for free! Yeah. They actually die this time. But if you can get Colossus and Templar, that army composition is actually so insane. It's really good.
Here come these 2 Banshees, or not here come, but they've still been beating on your entire peon line there. Easily going to be taking out that assimilator there. It looks like you're just going to move out here and possibly secure your third. A scan does come down, so he doesn't know where your army is currently at. And how come what's your decision here to just leave these Banshees kind of attacking your units at will? Were you just waiting for the Observer to pop out of that robotics?
Yeah, I think I was waiting for the Observer, and I had the cannon in the mineral line, so I figured he was going to kill that geyser, and that's about it. And that's what he did do. But, I mean, if you pull down the income tab, you can see it's 40 Harvesters for me versus 71 for him. So he's a little bit on the high end just because of those mules, but actually, look at he's just creaming me in income. He's actually got his third going down significantly faster. He's got position. He's been harassing me into the ground. Pretty much all I have going for me are these upgrades that I'm stubbornly still doing. I'm like, I don't care if I can barely afford anything else. I will have these upgrades. And it ends up being a pretty good choice. Spoiler alert.
So, yes, you currently are sitting at 2-2. Researching the ground armor level 3. Haven't started the weapons yet, though. But it looks like the 2 of you are going to have a huge fight here over the center of the map. And that's typically, in the mid to late game, really what happens on this map in almost all matchups. Would you agree?
Yeah, but actually the action is at the top of the map. I'm actually looking to do a little counter move. If you start falling behind, it's this kind of stuff, forcing that Terran to get mobile with his army, that's going to give you a chance, right? I can't do a stand-up fight with that army as he's sunk into the middle with that planetary fortress and tanks. So I'm looking to get him to be out of position for static defenses, kind of keep him nervous, keep him on his toes, to buy myself more time. But it's really ineffective. He actually does a really nice move, just sieging right there at the bottleneck point, because he doesn't have to go all the way into his base. And it was very good of him to make that choice by not moving his whole army in there. And then he's just slow pushing the middle, which was a little overeager. You know, 1 tank and 3 Marines, probably not going to intimidate too many Protosses out there. But one thing to note, too, is he's actually, I mean, all game long he's been scanning me. He should be clicking on my units. He should be seeing, okay, he's got crazy upgrades. But if you click on his stuff, he's got non-existent upgrades. So for all the Terran players out there listening, I mean, if you see the other guy upgrading, don't be like, well, that's wonderful for you. I'm actually opting for something else. You actually got to keep pace with him. It's like an arms race.
Yeah, it's one thing that really quite impressed by Phoenix thus far is his scans. He's always scanning right on top of your army and knowing exactly where you're at pretty much at all times throughout this game. It looks like we do have a couple of Hellions here inching up on the left side. Another Hellion drop here into your natural expansion. Let's see how many they actually kill this time. But it looks like they're going to kill a lot here as you have no units around there waiting on that cannon to do the damage there. He's finally put his Hellions back under control there, and you're just kind of letting them do his thing here, waiting for the rest of these units to catch up to him. Is there any reason why you didn't warp in anything right there? Did you have cooldowns on your gateways, or?
I must have. And if you look at my money, it's pretty low too. But he was pretty sloppy about that. He just left the Hellions there, and they didn't do anything. They killed like 2 probes and stopped my mining time. So it didn't end up being the end of the world there. Small engagement in the middle, and again, he's a little bit overeager. Like, he's way back-end heavy here, but now he's kind of realizing his error and pushing forward. And I'm looking at that going, well, I guess I should attack it. And I think I come into position here in a second. But you want to lead with the Immortals. They only take 10 damage from those tanks. So it's up to the support units to kind of do a lot more damage.
Here he comes.
And then right here you can just see the power of the Immortal.
Yeah, it tanked a lot of siege tanks hit there. Really a mistake on his part by not target firing with those tanks onto the rest of your units instead of onto those Immortals. And it looks like both of you kind of traded, I guess, almost the same supply there. I would say you came out a little bit ahead. Now he's going to be throwing down some bunkers. I'm having a hard time talking. It's probably because it's about 700 degrees right now in my room as I've had to shut it. Yeah. A lot of people are talking out there. But anyways, going back into the game, why don't you take us back into the action here in the center?
Sure. Just it's again a fight for positioning. You can see that Raven kind of leading the front, looking for the opportunity to drop that point defense drone. Protoss is getting impatient, moving forward. Tons of Immortals, and it's actually the area of effect. Ooh, EMP goes down, reducing the hardened shell off the Immortals, which makes it impossible for them to actually realize their true strength. So the Protoss has to tuck tail and back off. And it's a huge loss for him. If you look at the income tab again, the Terran's actually up to 87 Harvesters, so he's got to put the brakes on pretty quick here. But the Protoss is 32 Harvesters behind. And then if you look at supply, it's actually just not good. I'm at 105, and he's at 176, and he's been at least 100 ahead of me. Well, not at least, but almost 100 ahead of me all game long.
Kind of to break from the game here, I'll keep the camera going, but I'm just completely amazed at how many different sounds we're getting into this cast. We've had people talking in the hallway, a vacuum, now an airplane. I'm sure the UPS van is going to be coming here very soon and making a ton of noise. I can't believe how fail this is going in terms of the audio. But jumping back into the game, you're currently still on 2 bases while he does have his third secured very easily. It looks like a little bit of a Hellion drop. Where is your warp prism? Oh, you had a pylon back there. Okay. How come you haven't really been incorporating have you been incorporating a lot of warp prism play into your style, or is that just something you typically don't do?
Well, stepping outside this game, sure, warp prisms are fantastic, and I do use them a lot. But in the heat of this game, I feel like I'm behind. That's because I am tremendously behind all game long. And if you look at my resources, I've got 400, and I'm bringing in about 400 a minute. So usually other things get priority other than the warp prism. Like, I'm not thinking about making something that carries stuff over there when I don't really have stuff to carry at the time. So I need to be prioritizing money. So that's why any money I do have, you're seeing are being spent on a couple of Immortals, maybe a Zealot or 2. I do make the Dark Shrine. That's a fantastic way for a Protoss to come back. And I'm just trying to get my third base. All I'm asking politely from him is to be on equal footing economically, and he's actually denying me all game long. And he's actually maxed at 200 now, and I'm still barely over 100. So ridiculously far ahead he is, as Yoda would say.
Yes, as Yoda would say. When Terran typically has a stranglehold like this on the center, what is a way that you feel is the best way, really, to get back into the game and take out this center stranglehold that he has?
Well, it's this mech play that he's doing. These tanks are very immobile. They're very positionally based. I do have Immortals, which one misstep by him, and they can trash a whole tank line. So I'm using these DTs to slow down his fourth, kind of reduce the effectiveness of what he does have, and buy myself time so that I can establish this third and kind of get some kind of army rolling. So as you look around the map, you'll see we're both kind of vying for a little special positioning. I'm moving my army around, hoping to force him to unsiege and move around, and if he gets sloppy at one time, then that's when I'm going to roll in and try to punish him. But so far he's playing very smart, staying on that high ground in the middle of the map, building missile turrets amongst his tanks, and keeping the Raven close by. So there's really not an opportunity for me to attack that.
Here comes a couple of Hellions. How many probes are they going to be able to kill? Looks like quite a lot there, but your Zealots and the rest of your army do make pretty quick work of them. He's actually kind of inching forward a little bit, trying to threaten what would be your third, but you can't actually take it because of this mech play that he is doing. He's made quite a lot of command turrets. Ooh, some nice EMPs almost onto your entire army. When things like that happen in the game, how does that make you feel, Geoff?
Well, it just, it was one of those things where I just kind of sigh and go, son of a bitch, he's even making ghosts. Like, that's something not enough Terrans do, and you kind of hope they don't, because they do ridiculous damage to the shields of every Protoss unit. It's not just good against Templar, like, for some reason Terrans think. So when he did that, I knew I had to back off and get that hardened shell regenerated on my Immortals, because I can't rush into fight with 200 health guys that take full damage from tanks. That's just completely canceling out their purpose.
Now he has sieged up right outside of your newly acquired third base, and your army is currently sitting at your natural. Are you just kind of giving this up? Is your army is pretty much completely out of position right now?
Yep, if I would have fought him there, I absolutely would have lost, so I'm kind of saying to myself, alright, not going to win there, so I'm going to have to win with a big counter. It's not going to be with that third. So that's exactly what I'm doing. I actually catch this command center off position, but this is what I was hoping for. You can see him pulling only his tanks back. Well, those tanks only do 10 damage to Immortals, so I should have led with the Immortals. I actually lead with the Archons, and again, that's that sloppy play. But watch how fast these all die.
Yeah, that was...
Where did your army go?
That was about 2 seconds. There comes... Wow, you don't often see the 250mm strike cannons so much, but I guess it comes into play when you have as many Immortals as you do right now. Here comes a ton of Marines, and your army really can't do too much with those Marines, as you are very Immortal heavy right now, so you're going to fall back. You have taken out this base of his with a couple of DTs. Now you're quickly approaching his... what would be his natural with a random planetary fort just kind of blocking the way.
Yeah, but look at the supply. I mean, he was 100 ahead, and now we're actually dead even. And it just happened in the blink of an eye like that. 2 bases gone, DTs on the right side, Immortals on the middle, and it was all position-based. Now, of course, the sands of time are ticking against me. If you look at my natural, each mineral line has roughly 50 minerals on, or 100. So I've got to build a base here pretty quick, and that's why my money's jumping up a little bit, because I'm realizing that. I can't have my money spent on a bunch of fun stuff. I do have 2 Colossus coming out, which is a big thing. Those Colossus absolutely are huge, because he is switching to a more heavy Marine composition because of the Immortals. So as long as I get the Immortals on his tanks and the Colossus on his Marines, my army composition is superior.
You do have some DTs here, kind of giving you a little bit of map control. This... missile turret will allow that Marauder to see it, but you make quick work of that with those upgrades of level 3, doing 60 damage a swing there. And you've decided to take the expansion really at the, 3 o'clock position. There was this one this one Marauder over there. This SV does in fact see it.